Welcome back to the In.pencil podcast. I'm Adam.
I have forgotten my name. It has been so long. I've been trapped in this microphone where I live and have lived since our last podcast 3 years ago. Oh, wait, I'm
so
dead.
long. I forgot we had a podcast.
Yeah,
I was like, I feel like something's missing out of my life. Oh, yeah, it's talking to myself, or, us talking to ourselves.
I haven't done any YouTube videos in like 2 months. I realized that the other day. I was like, man, I feel like that creative itch is like not getting fulfilled. I have so many things on my YouTube desk table that I'm looking at right now, things I'm supposed to do.
Would you consider that your to-do list?
You could do. I can't do it, but yeah, I was trying to.
Mine was better.
Yeah, yours was way better.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got like 5 things just sitting on that table that where I do all my recording, except for my actual. Where's my camera stand?
Well, it's becoming routine that whenever we record, we talk about how we haven't recorded in so long. But, maybe that's just going to be our pattern from now on. Although, I'd like for it not to be. But, life is doing life things as always. So.
Yeah, we said we were going to do a monthly podcast at one point, and we haven't even done that. But what have we done since we last recorded together? We have done something big.
Did we?
No, we didn't really. We did hang out in Chicago.
Oh, yeah. I went to Chicago.
And I went and visited you. And it was very fun.
Treasure hunting.
Yeah, it was really fun. I have a lot of video. I have a lot of things that I put that's currently on my phone where I did some recording of us going from place to place, like used retro game places in the Chicago area. I don't know if we were ever actually in Chicago proper, but I don't actually...
Within the greater Chicago metropolitan suburban area.
We parked on the street once, I think. So doesn't that count as being in the city? Wait, did we park on the street? I don't actually remember.
If there are humans around, I consider that to be the city. So I think
a very different idea of what the city is. But yeah. So maybe someday we'll actually show what we got. We got some cool stuff on that trip.
Yeah, that was a good trip for me to take up there. I went to the Theosophical Society while I was up there, and that was a good experience. What else happened up there? Why did you even go up there? I don't even remember. Anyway, it was a good trip.
This is the weird thing. So we just happened to both be able to hang out. And I was asking, and we went to the Theosophical Society, and I was like, oh, why did you pick this one? And then you told me something I did not know, which was...
It's the one.
Yeah, it's the only one.
Well, the only one in America, anyway.
Yeah. I was like, oh.
Yeah. I should be more careful about whenever I say things like America, because, people from other countries in America, like Latin America or South America, sometimes take offense whenever you refer to the United States as America, as if it's the only country in the Americas. So yes, the Theosophical Society of America is the only one in the United States.
Yeah. Is it the only one in North America?
I don't know.
I'm trying to figure out this Theosophical Society.
It was named in the early or late 1800s, early 1900s, somewhere around there. So it was probably the only one in the United States, or in all the Americas, probably. But anyway, regardless, it's a really cool place. The bookstore is awesome. So if you ever go to Chicago and you're looking for books about religion or spirituality, I would say take a look at the bookstore there. Their books aren't overpriced, and they have other things that have to do with meditation and yoga and just pretty much everything that has to do with religion, honestly. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's it was really cool to be there. I had no intention really to do that, but I wasn't even thinking about that part of it. I was more excited about the retro gaming hunting, which all we did was I just put in like retro gaming video game store where near the Theosophical Society, and we just went in a loop. But I really actually enjoyed the
Theosophical. That's the word.
Theosophical. I have a I forgot what it's called. It's a certain lisp with the S. I said it wrong. I have a lisp with my S, and it's called something, but it's not as noticeable in just general day-to-day talk. And so I get hung up on the S's.
Yeah, well, I can't roll my tongue for doing the R's.
Oh, I can't either. We grew up as Americans, or U.S. Americans, since we're trying to be more specific, which is really weird because the demonym for the UN officially recognized demonym for people from the United States is American.
Sure.
So it's like I am an American in two senses, and I don't have another name for where I come from because the United States does not have an actual name. It's just
I have a name for where I come from. It's called Tennessean.
What'd you say?
I said the name for where I come from is called Tennessean.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But like United States of America is a description. It's the United States that happen to exist in America, which is weird because Mexico is also United States, so it's not the only United States. I think it was the first United States in America. So right. Yeah, we live in a country that doesn't have a name, official name. It's just description.
There is a Theosophical Society in Costa Rica and Brazil. So interesting. There you go.
Now so we're not. So it's not even the only Theosophical Society in North America because Costa Rica is technically in North America.
Yeah, I guess.
In one sense of North America.
Sure. I do love Costa Rica. I've been there a few times. It's nice. You know, there's not many countries that can get away with having no military and still be at peace with everyone. You know, so that's admirable. You know, especially with all the stuff that goes on down there, all the drugs and warlords and all that kind of stuff. So,
I've never been. I've never been to any other country in America. In the greater Americas, I guess you say Americas usually in that sense.
Sure.
This whole podcast is becoming a discussion of the term America, and let's go back to the history. So, in 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue, but really it was Amerigo Vespucci. No. Not going to get into all that because I don't know all that. I just know Amerigo Vespucci. I think is who America is named after.
Right.
But so yeah, it's one of three Theosophical Societies in the Americas.
There are some really cool game stores up there in that area of Chicago. We well, not just game stores, like bookstores, music stores, like.
Yeah, we kind of did it all. We went to several half-price books, which is a big thing apparently in the Chicago area. There were several, so we were like, why not? We also went to some very more localized ones. One that was mostly a Warhammer. Yeah. But it had some really cool, like they look like they took care of their books, their games. So
I wish I could remember the name of that store because I would say it if I could remember. But it was.
Let me see if I have it in my info. Shoot, that is a great point. We're gonna have to make the video now that just shows because it was such a good game store. It's not like I don't think I would go there a lot because it was mostly Warhammer, but in a small amount of games. Do you remember when we did this? It was like early October. That's how long it's been.
Like second week of October. Yeah, it was. I mean, they had the used games they had. They had them in nice plastic sleeves. They didn't have all the ridiculous stickers and they weren't left out in the open to be collect dust and that kind of stuff. Like they took care of their stuff, and they had a really good selection too. Like for anything that you'd want to find, you could probably find there.
Oh man. Well, I don't have it. I don't know where it is.
Well, if we find it, we'll link to it in the description for the podcast or whatever.
Yeah. We'll try to. We could find it. I kind of remember the area, and I've got some videos of inside of it. So,
Yeah.
but I did not take any video of. I try to get a picture of every single store we walked into, and I just forgot.
Well, that store was an odd location because you had to go to the back of the building to get in.
Yeah, it was parking in the back, and also entrance in the back. So it worked out. But yeah, it was a really cool place. Especially if you like Warhammer, it looks like the place to go. I'm not into Warhammer. I think it was Warhammer.
Yeah, it's all the tabletop sort of gaming stuff, card games and that kind of stuff.
I do D&D, but we just do it by, I've never done it where I actually had figures, where you just put the figures around on the board. It's mostly you just talking.
What, D&D?
Yeah, I've never done it.
I've never done any of those things, Magic or any of that stuff.
Yeah, D&D is fun, and maybe we should do a D&D like campaign, because you could do, well, maybe not necessarily D&D, but make our own version of it. Because that kind of role-playing game where you just have dice and a character sheet, you can just be creative. And you're like,
I feel like it's so complex that like it takes a while to learn a lot. Like,
yeah, I'm sure there's smaller ones. I was going to make a version of it one time for like kids. And then I realized like it's so hard not to make it complex because you got to have so many different facets to this. Like any video game is where there is some element of role playing, even has a lot of like behind the scenes stuff you don't know.
Yeah, skill traits and special abilities, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
And your point system, like even Zelda games have a point system that is, at least in like Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, have a point system like your XP. That is a running tally that the game doesn't tell you because it doesn't want you. You don't need to know it, but it does influence what kind of enemies and pickups you can get from enemies. But you don't even know it's happening. It's happening in the background, but it is happening to help make sure that you are that you're being matched with how good you are at the game and how the enemies are. I don't know if that makes sense, but even some of the final bosses, even some of the bosses you face off, depending on the order in which you face them, they'll have more or less XP. Yeah. So that it'll be harder because it's assuming you're a higher level and you don't want to just easily defeat an enemy. You want to actually have a skill, especially when they're non-linear games.
It seems really complex. It's not something I'd be wanting to get into at any point in time, ever, really. But
why does the Theosophical Society look like it has a Nazi symbol on it?
That is a swastika, and it is not a Nazi symbol. If you research the history of a swastika, you would know that.
Yeah,
the swastika that's used in the Nazi is inverted.
Inverted? What do you mean?
It's flipped. The Nazi symbol is flipped from what a traditional swastika is.
Well, there's two things. There's the swastika, and then there's the other thing that's the other version of it.
I don't know. I'm not a symbologist when it comes to swastika.
I'm not saying. I'm just like, yeah, you see that might throw you off. It looks a little different from the Nazis, but it still be like, wait a minute, what? That's not good. There's an older history of that symbol.
Well, it's used in a lot of different cultures and for a lot of different meanings, specifically Hinduism and Buddhism. But,
which is where you get swastikas. And what is the other one? I feel like I don't want to like Google swastika, but here we go. It means good to prevail. Good fortune is what a swastika means. Wow. Yeah. Okay, it's both ways. It can go either way as a swastika. It doesn't get its own name. Oh, wait, it does. Kinda. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about today because we don't know what we're talking about today.
Really? All right. Well, let's talk about this. 43 monkeys escaped South Carolina research facility. Police warn residents to secure doors and windows. Okay. So
So yeah. So first of all, let's put this context. We're not talking about the big things in the world going on, but the day after the election is when this happened. So it probably did not get heard by a lot of people.
But the monkeys got loose.
The monkeys got loose on Wednesday, November 6th.
Yeah.
They are from a biomedical research lab. Do you remember in the Colbert Report back in the long time ago, whenever a monkey escaped, he did a segment called "Monkey on the Lam"?
I don't remember that.
You
No.
don't remember Monkey on the Lam? Oh, it was such a
No.
great. It happened more times than it should have.
What this reminds me of, though, is have you ever seen Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back?
I have not.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I don't know. I can't explain it. And like, there's a whole storyline in there where Jay and Silent Bob release a bunch of animals, including monkeys, from a research facility as part of the plot. And antics ensue. It's hilarious. They wind up adopting a monkey called Susan, I think. It's great. Anyway, that's what this reminds me of. I wonder if this was intentional. How'd they get out?
Right? It's 43 monkeys. The thing that made me, what I started thinking of is, have you ever seen the movie 12 Monkeys?
No.
So in the movie 12 Monkeys, they're doing biological research and there are monkeys involved, hence the name 12 Monkeys. I don't want to give too much away because it's a 30-year-old film. Maybe I shouldn't even worry about that. But it is such an interesting time travel / eco-terrorism / apocalyptic movie where a disease is in the 1990s was sent upon the world that wiped out like 80% of the population or something, and the rest of them went to live underground or on the moon. I can't remember all the details. It stars Bruce Willis, and even though he does eat in that film, if you know the Brad Pitt thing, you understand how funny that is.
I don't know the Brad Pitt thing.
Brad Pitt always is eating in every film he's in. It's like his thing. He'll be eating something.
Okay.
Do you not know about this? Like some actors who always do the same thing. Like Tom Cruise always runs in his films. Tom Hanks is always peeing in his films. There's like a part of the plot is him peeing at one point.
No,
or not being able to. I think these were like accidental, but they just kind of became a theme.
No, I've never.
Yeah,
no.
it's kind of a funny thing. Like he in Forrest Gump because I gotta pee or whatever, and
Yeah.
then in A League of Their Own, he like comes into there and just goes to the bathroom and pees for a long time. And in The Green Mile, he has trouble. He has a urinary tract infection or something.
Right. I remember that. And I remember the Castaway stuff too.
So, and then Brad Pitt is always eating in his films, but there's some others. Those are just three I remembered. But so, where was I going? So 12 Monkeys is what this reminded me of, where they were thinking like biomedical research lab, someone's going to let loose this deadly disease. And they do in the movie. And it's like, oh, great. I think the first thing I said to you was like, I'm pretty sure Resident Evil started like this. Resident Evil game started with this. Umbrella Corporation. Oh.
These monkeys were living on Morgan Island as free-range monkeys and were brought to Alpha's Genesis facility for conditioning to be around people. So I guess they weren't actually being tested on when they were at the facility.
That's what they say.
Yeah, that's what they say. And
they always say they weren't being used to be tested on people.
They always deflect and say there's something else happening instead of what's actually happening. Well, I guess monkeys are now an invasive species in South Carolina because there's no way they're going to round up 40 fucking monkeys. So we'll see how that affects the overall ecosystem down there in South Carolina. They're not going to round up 43 monkeys. I highly doubt that.
It's not going to affect it that much because it's about to be freaking winter, so the monkeys are going to die.
True. Maybe.
This is the problem. The monkeys are probably not going to survive this, which it's really sad. Like, how do you? It feels like somebody let them loose maybe to be good to them, but unless that person went and picked them all up and
Go free, like in Jurassic World, or was it the Lost World Jurassic Park, where they go and they got the camp, and they come along and they break the locks and let all the dinosaurs out. Probably the same situation. Well, I mean, hell.
yeah, I don't know what to do with that, but yeah, that's the monkey on the lamp. Man, apparently Stephen Colbert still has potentially used this as on the Late Show.
I'm sure he has anything to deflect from the main topics of the day, probably. So,
well, it's side topics. I mean, not everybody wants to talk about.
Oh my God!
World.
But it's incessant. It's everywhere. Like, I'm on this monkey article right now, and still at the top, it's election stuff.
Oh. So yeah, welcome to In.Pencil News, where we deflect from. Well, we don't deflect, but you know what? You've had enough of.
Oh yeah. No, definitely.
Like, we're not your news source. We should not be your news source for the important stuff, but we want to be your news source for the unimportant stuff.
I do have some other interesting primate news if you want.
I am very shocked that you have a segue that good. So yes, I do want.
Let's hear the other interesting primate news. This is from Mysterious Universe, and it's actually a link to a YouTube video. The Rocky Mountain Sasquatch organization posted a video from a game camera, supposedly in Connersville, Indiana, of what the witness, whose name I will not say, but he's listed here, thinks is a freaking Sasquatch walking up right through some woods on his property. Banks claims that neighbors, and this is quoting, neighbors said that they have heard weird screams at night, end quote, which he initially thought was dogs barking at a deer, but now thinks it's a Bigfoot. That caused one neighbor to say, quote, no more going to the woods without my 45. His success or failure in capturing Bigfoot might depend on whether he's referring to the gun or the malt liquor. That's from the Mysterious Universe. But the video does look, I don't know. The problem with all this crap, all these videos. So it's Halloween, right? Or was Halloween? It's the Halloween season, right? So I've been sitting there in my free time, instead of recording stuff for In.Pencil, watching ghost and paranormal videos on YouTube.
Of course you have.
For just and I see some of these. Why is it that every, like, all right, so there's like these videos, right, where these people will just go out in the woods, right, and they'll get something on camera, like let's say like I'm recording myself, right? So this is me like recording myself, and the video of me is perfectly clear, right? But whenever I flip the camera around to show whatever paranormal thing that I'm trying to record, it looks like a potato, like it's blurry and pixelated, like it's a 4K camera or a 1080p camera. Why can't it just record? But every single video of anything paranormal or Bigfoot or UFO, it's always extremely grainy, even if it's a high quality camera. Why is that? Somebody explain this to me.
Well, simple. It's not real stuff.
But this video here is the same way. It's the trees in the video are like really clear, but the supposed figure of the Bigfoot, it's just, there's so much contrast. Like, I don't know. There's a picture of what's supposed to be a footprint. You know, I don't know. Kind of cool, kind of interesting. Primate news. Is Bigfoot a primate?
Well, it's the missing link between gorillas and humans, right? Isn't that kind of the idea of it? Somewhere between a gorilla and a human, or a monkey and well, it'd be a gorilla because humans don't evolve from monkeys. There was a split years ago. So yeah, so it'd have to be a primate.
Sure.
So yeah, there's interesting primate. I think the fact of the matter is most of this is just made up or purposely. So that's why it's purposely grainy. so you can't actually look at it and see it's just some dude with the tag from Hot Topic still on the back of a suit or wherever.
I don't think that every video is made up. I think there's some legit, like, convincing evidence of whether it's paranormal, Bigfoot, UFOs,
Yeah.
whatever it is. But it's hard to sift through the nonsense and get to the stuff that's legitimate.
Well, so you got a few things that also could be happening just from a technical point of view. Whenever you flip your camera from one side to the other, it probably, I don't have the details on this, but I do know, like, forward facing. So if I'm got my phone camera looking at me while I'm looking at the phone, that is actually a worse camera than on the backside.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
So that's a very common thing. So I wonder if, like, the flipping between the two cameras, so you're forward facing looking at you and it's grainy, but it still picks your face up because, you're right there. And then it switches to look far away and it's just not correcting.
Well, even if I take this SLR, right? I'm holding a Canon EOS 1300D SLR camera. It's a normal sort of, still video camera, right? With a 18 to 55 millimeter lens. If I'm pointing it at myself, like, this is like what I would see in an example of one of these videos. I'm pointing at myself like, hey guys, like on a selfie stick or whatever, like, hey guys, I'm out here in the woods. Check out, oh shit, look what I see. And I turn around, just physically turn it around, and it focuses, and the thing going by is still like pixelated. Like, the trees will be clear, the thing going by is still pixelated. Why is it still pixelated?
So a few things also that could be happening is that I'm just going to say from technical point of views is also because of the distance and the movement does not make it easier for some cameras to pick up. They're not designed for that. When it's close to you, then it obviously sees you, and you don't pay attention to the fact that it's probably bad pixelated on you because you can see enough. Another thing is, as it gets shared and shared more and more, it's like getting compressed. If you put a video on Facebook, this, like, Facebook will destroy video quality if you put a video.
That's true. But YouTube can do 4K. So
yeah. But uploading in 4K could take a minute.
Yeah. Well, this video, this specific example, which is just one sample of a much larger swath of nonsense that's out there on the internet. And here's the thing. I believe this stuff exists. I just don't believe that why does this thing say 480p quality? Like, I believe this stuff exists, but I don't believe that every single video that's captured or every photo that's taken that supposedly demonstrates evidence is legitimate.
Yeah, there's a lot of. The thing about it is, if we believe in the unexplainable, like, there are things out there that just do not make sense in our mindset, like, oh, it could be something extraterrestrial, paranormal, supernatural. That also, we also have to, like, we should confess that also there are things that we can't explain that are normal scientific happenings. So we're seeing stuff, we're like, that's paranormal or supernatural, but actually it's just something we don't know. Like lightning balls, if I remember correctly, lightning balls were theoretical for a while, and now they actually, I believe, have observed them and know what they are.
Yeah, there's video evidence, yeah.
And that's not paranormal, that's not supernatural, that's not alien, that's not cryptic. It's just a natural phenomenon that we just didn't know about for a long time. And I think as we learn more, I mean, obviously cryptids are only cryptids because they're not in the classified. Like what are they called? Giant squids, the same way. Like, giant squids were this mythical sea creature until they were finally weren't.
Yeah.
Because they were just regular things. So, like, Bigfoot, if Bigfoot's real, which I don't think, I think at this point, like, we would have solid evidence, and I just don't think there is any solid evidence that Bigfoot's real. It's probably just some hairy man out in the country who's trying to be kept, be safe.
I feel like with all the game trail cameras and all the satellite imagery and all the heat, we can fly a helicopter over a section of forest and pick up heat signatures using infrared cameras. Yeah. We should be able to pick up, if there's some anomalous body out. Like we can see a deer on infrared or on like a FLIR, like forward-looking infrared. But we can't see a big. Like at this point, we should have some sort of technology that can observe, especially if like it's out in like Yellowstone, where forest rangers could fly over in a helicopter and pick up e-signature. That's how they count, animals.
Yeah, so they're going to find it, and nobody can keep that a secret. Like this actual evidence from actual people. Like you just can't keep secrets that well of really good info on it, and so it would get out, and people would try to hunt it. So they'd have to put it in safe areas. Like you cannot hunt in this area. You cannot hunt Bigfoot in this area because if it exists, people are going to try to hunt it, even if it's dumb. Like moose. It's moose plural. Moose.
Moose is the plural of moose. Yes.
Okay. People, I think, hunt moose, and like if you get too close to a moose, you're screwed, right? Those things are like the size of a tower.
My grandpa had a moose head on his wall, so he killed a moose.
Yeah, so people will hunt it, and people will win because you have guns. I mean, generally you win unless you're not good at what you do, and then you lose, or you get a clever girl situation.
Right. That's the other thing. Yeah, I know so little about the theories about Bigfoot. Like people say, like I watched like Les Stroud, Survivor Man. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
He did this like kind of mini series where he was because he would go camping out in the woods, wherever, Alaska, wherever. He would hear like strange noises at night. So he was convinced that Bigfoot existed. So he actually went out and did a mini series and showed like, okay, if the branches are bent in this way, but not broken or whatever it is, then that's evidence that, the Sasquatch like built a nest here or, had passed through here. Or maybe you could find traces of like hair that got rubbed off on a tree or something, so you examine the hair and the hair comes back, like DNA from the hair comes back and it says, oh, well, this is from a species that is unknown to humans, right? So like, I don't know, things like that. Whenever somebody takes like a legitimate scientific approach to studying this kind of stuff, just like with the UFO stuff over at Skinwalker Ranch, where they're doing a TV show, The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, I feel like a lot of that stuff is legitimate because they're showing you like legitimate scientific evidence for unexplained anomalous activity, which I can buy into, at least to some extent. But grainy video,
not great.
Not convinced.
It's 2024. Come on, we have 4K. At least shoot it in 720.
I mean, at least I don't know.
If you have an iPhone right now, go to settings. Go down to. I probably should have figured this out before I started doing this. Go to settings. Go to. Where is this?
Camera?
Where's camera? I'm trying to find camera.
It's just below general. It says camera. It's got a picture of a camera beside it. The icon does.
Mine does not have that.
Okay, well, there's camera, and then I think what you're getting to is record video at 1080p or at 4K.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to. So I can't find it. On mine. And if you really want to make it nice, you can do 60 frames per second.
I mean, if you want high quality,
I record all our YouTube stuff on my camera, and it's at 10. It's at actually, let me see. I think it's at 4K, 60 frames per second.
Yeah, I got mine at 4K 60, but I'm not out in the woods recording Bigfoot. I'm actually kind of terrified of the woods behind my house because I do hear a lot of weird stuff out there at night.
Because there are a lot of animals out there, and every morning.
I'm more afraid of the coyotes and stuff like that.
My goodness, you've got so much stuff. People don't understand. People who did not grow up in the country and did not grow up around woods, because I grew up in the they basically took the woods and they just carved little sections and they put houses down. And they didn't carve all the woods; they just carved parts of the woods. They put a road in the middle of the woods, and then they put these little sections where houses are. So if you look at Google Maps, you'll just see like little pops of land in the middle of a giant forest on a hill. And that's where I grew up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there were creeks, and there were woods, and there were, which is like
And there were
everything.
ticks and mosquitoes and leeches and all kinds of other shit that you don't want to have all over your body whenever you come out of the woods.
There were poison ivy everywhere. There were wolf spiders. My goodness, I remember growing up when it would get colder, we'd have so many spiders in our basement, and like huge spiders, and you just got used to them because you're like, "Hey, how you doing, dude? Will you make sure to get the mosquitoes?" And the spider would be like, "Anything."
I'd be like, "Where's my rent money, motherfucker?"
It's like, I'm keeping the mosquitoes out, and the mosquitoes are the most.
It's too damn expensive out here. You can be out here looking rent free in my house. You got to pay some rent.
Yeah. Every time I go to my basement now, I see like spiders, like dead spiders usually, because you don't see the living ones that well. If you see a spider and it's alive, it's shocking because they usually try to keep hidden when they around humans. But every time I see like a spider web, I'm like, as long as you're in the corner, you're doing your job. Because when that bug comes around, I want to put a little light above the spider web so the bug will be like, "Oh, look, light," and then, "Oh no," and then the spider's like, "Oh no."
Yeah,
that's a dramatic reenactment of how that goes.
That's the num sounds really realistic. Sounds very, very true to life with what spiders may actually sound like. I have 25 acres of land behind my house, and I went through and I got permission to go back there and make some running trails for myself, which is what I want to do this winter. But I'm waiting to do, like, I'm gonna get like rent this thing. I don't even know what it's called from Home Depot, where you just basically like a big push mower, but it's much more like industrial. I'm gonna go there and push trails throughout the woods, but I'm waiting until the fucking weather dies down, because right now the ticks are still out. It's November and the ticks are still out. I'm more than I am afraid of Bigfoot or fucking aliens or ghosts or anything else. It's the ticks. That's my biggest fear from the woods.
Ticks are ticks are dangerous. But yeah, so I used to live, we had like 3 acres, but my dad had one of those when I was a kid growing up, one of those bush whackers or whatever. Yeah. And those things go over like, so if you don't know what we're talking about, some of you do, some of you don't. What Adam is describing is something like, think of your Christmas tree. Okay, think of a Christmas tree that you have in your house, and now think of it in the ground. Now imagine someone taking a push lawnmower and destroying that, just going over top of it, and nothing left but a small stump.
Yeah,
that's what these things do. So if you do not understand what's going on here, is these things will take out small trees.
And that's what I wanted to do, because I want to be able to have running trails through the woods. You know how you go to a state park and you got trails you can run on? That's what they use to make the trails. They go through and it's all the way down to the ground. There's no weeds. There's no grass, dirt.
Are you going to get some pulp of wood from all that and just like collect it so you can put it down on the trail?
No, I'm just going to carve the path, and then anything that's either basically will below the height of my head, or it'll hit me if I'm running through, I'm just going to use trimmers or cut the branch or whatever. But I'm waiting until everything clears out, because right now there's still a bunch of weeds, and there's still ticks, and there's still spiders, and there's still mosquitoes, and all the other things that I wish would just die off for the season, so I can go out and make these trails. Because once I make these trails once, it's only maintaining them throughout the year that I have to worry about. So
we had those. We had a trail in the first house I lived at. My dad made a trail that went in the woods behind our house. You may remember this house. We used to play pool over there.
I know.
That house. Okay. So we had a trail, and there was like on our neighbor's property, there was like an old mobile home, like a small mobile home, like I guess like a trailer, fifth wheel. Think of a long fifth wheel.
Sure. Yeah.
Idea, concept. Not really. It was bigger than that, but it was this. They just had it out there, right on the property in the woods, and it was right near our line where we had like actual fences, and he'd make it go all the way back there, and it was so cool because I never went back there as a kid until he made that. And then we moved houses, and he made another trail that went through the woods all up to the property line and back. And it was just really cool, like bike riding place. We'd ride bikes back there sometimes.
Yeah.
You couldn't really do much because, you can't ride a lot of bikes because you hit everything. But, this is the cool thing. That's the stuff you do in the country as a kid. You go through the trails. You ride bikes on the road.
Yeah. Or as an adult. I like. Yeah.
You go to the creek and you swim.
And you catch crawdads and toads and frogs and stuff.
Oh, man. I remember there's a specific creek, and I know exactly where it is. And I think I could still get there, where we get our crawdads or crawfish or crayfish, whatever you want to call them.
They're crawdaddies is what they are.
Yeah. I heard them call all three names: crawdads, crawdaddies, crayfish, crawfish. I think crawfish was a common one we called them. We called them crawdaddies, but we also crawfish. And so I knew exactly where we go. And we'd have those little like catchers for them, which was metal, chain stuff, and you just put them in the water, and then you catch them, and then you go and you use those at a different lake. Because you did that in the creek, and then you went to the river so you could catch your fish.
Yep.
And Dad was like, "Okay, we're gonna go catch some catfish."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Cool." And he was like, "What time? We gotta get up at like 4 a.m." And I was like, "I don't like catfish anymore."
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah. I remember being a kid and getting up to go hunting, 4:00 in the morning, heading out, going out to the place where we used to go, and hunting squirrel and deer and rabbits. And September 1st is always the beginning of dove season in Tennessee, so that's dove hunting. But dove hunting is a little bit different because, like, when you go dove hunting, it's September 1st is opening day, and it opens at noon. So when you go out there, normally you'll go to like a public hunt, unless you have somebody who has private land that you can go hunt on. But it's normally on a field, like a cornfield or something. And the corn's already been, they've already, like, wherever they harvested it or whatever. So if it's a public hunt, there's usually several dozen people in that field, and they'll line the tree lines, and then they'll also line the perimeter of the field. And so, like, you could be sitting there, like, on the edge of the tree line, and you got your shotgun or whatever. Normally it's like a 20 gauge or a 410. I used a 410 as a kid, and I used a 20 gauge as an adult. But and you would, like, let's say a few bird fly over, a few dove fly over, and so everybody starts shooting, right? So sometimes you'll get in a situation where you're not really sure which person is the one that actually got the bird. So the bird would come down, and then you'd have like this little verbal discussion, like, well, did you shoot it or did I shoot it? Well, I don't know. What do you think? I don't know. Well, I guess here, you take this one, I'll get the next one, So there's always a bit of conflict. So it kind of takes away from the joy of hunting whenever it's just basically out there and it's like shooting fish in a barrel, and you're debating ownership of wild animals with dead wild animals that have basically almost no real value as far as meat goes. Like, it's not like you're going to be able to have a meal off of one dove, So I stopped dove hunting when I realized how stupid it was. But it was fun. It was a good little, like, childhood activity. But it was so fucking hot. Like, it's September 1st.
In Tennessee is not.
It's not only Tennessee, also, I did in Oklahoma and Arkansas.
Oh, man, I can't imagine.
It's so hot.
I feel like Oklahoma has all the extreme temperatures. It feels like a place that would just be like really hot during the summer and unbearably cold during the winter.
Yeah, that's about right. The winters aren't as bad as maybe a little further north, like Illinois or wherever, or Missouri. But it is cold. It's god awful cold. But yeah, then we hunt quail. The quail hunting was a little bit more fun because then, I was the kid. I'd go run into the bushes and scare the quail up, and then the adults would shoot them. So my job was to go and scare them up.
Wait, were the adults shooting over you?
Huh? Well, no, like, all right, there's geometry involved, but basically I would scare them up and they would fly over the adults, and then they would Yeah.
Okay. I was like, hey, you kid, go over there and scare the quail, and then we'll shoot at you. You'll be
No,
fine. Don't worry. You're wearing
wasn't
an orange vest.
no. You do it in a way that allows for the maximum amount of safety that people in the
Yeah.
country like to express. Um,
But,
I do feel like people in the country have a little bit less inclination to behave safely in any way, shape, or form than people in the city who may conduct the same activity or may not. Because, yeah, everyone in the country seems to just say, "Oh, well, you'll be all right." Doesn't matter what. Doesn't matter what. You get shot in the leg, you'll be all right.
and we all know somebody who was not all right.
Who's that?
No, I mean, like, I don't have anyone in specific.
Oh,
Just the idea. We all know somebody who did not end up all right, who did
yeah,
do something dumb, and or they shot their left arm and got their left arm and left leg hurt, and they were all right.
yeah. I don't know.
But my dad used to deer hunt, and then he quit because he got tired of it. Because deer hunting became like you go out there and you spend several hours. You climb up a tree,
Yeah,
sit in the tree stand. Which, man, I can never. He would practice. He would get them set up and practice them on trees in our backyard. And he was like, "Here, you
yeah,
try it." I was like, "How do you do this?" And you're like,
yeah.
"But." You had like a rope, and then you had that, and you're just like shimmying up a tree, and it was like, no, I'm scared of heights. I ain't doing this. But he wanted to show us, and he'd have a bow, and he'd like try to get us to pull the bow, and I could not ever pull that bow because that bow had the tension of I don't know what. Like I don't.
Several hundred pounds generally.
Yeah, I was like, I barely pulled it. Like if I put an arrow on that bow, probably even to this day, if I tried it. And I shot the arrow, it would go like 2 feet and just kind of whimper to the ground. It wouldn't go through water. Like if I had a waterfall, it would just hit the waterfall and fall down. It wouldn't be going fast enough. Like a light waterfall. It would rain. It would just hit a raindrop and fall.
Yeah.
But he did that for a while. And
I always like the prep work that goes into deer hunting. Like I like setting up the tree stand. And I like going out and because my Alexa's having trouble connecting to the internet. Anyway, yeah, you go out, once you get it set up, sometimes you'll set up like the night before and you'll just camp or something, but don't camp near where your tree stand is because then, they're going to smell like fire and stuff. But it's the relaxing portion is just waiting and just kind of sitting around. It's almost kind of a bit meditative, because you're out in the woods, you're by yourself, you're just experiencing nature. But the hard part is never actually get a kill, and then you got to drag it out of the woods, you got to tag it, you got to register it, you got to clean it and drain it and skin it and do all the other.
Yeah, I can. Another thing I can name, because I never went hunting, but my dad, when he would go, I would go with him sometimes because I was a little kid, and sometimes you have nothing better to do in the country. We would go into the city, which was a small town, and we'd go into the town, and we had the specific place we'd go that would take care of all your needs. Like you just brought the deer.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And they did it all, and they brought you back packages.
But that doesn't that seem to take that seems to ruin the legitimacy of it, because the whole point of hunting is to have the skill to be able to provide for yourself, so that you don't have to rely on services to do that for you. That the whole point of it.
Well, the whole point of a society is that you work together, and everybody has their own skill set to make
true, but
you work in advance.
And this is kind of where I have a dilemma with hunting now, is that I know how to hunt. I have the skill to hunt pretty much anything I can want to hunt, unless it's like, going on a safari or something. But like generally speaking, when it comes to Tennessee wildlife, there's pretty much not much I don't know how to hunt and prep and clean and stuff. But I have no desire to go out and do it because I don't have the necessity to go out and do it.
Yeah.
If it ever came to the point where society collapses, like maybe a worse off situation than COVID, where there were no essential services, where everything was shut down. The supply chains are completely locked up. Ships aren't shipping stuff. Trucks aren't trucking. You know, in that situation, I have 15 deer behind my house that'll sustain me for at least a winter. You know, you know what I mean? And they just go outside. I just get my bow. I have my bow downstairs. So, you know, the skills are valuable, but I feel like if you don't have the necessity to go out and do it, maybe do it a couple times just to develop your skill. But then after that, I don't think there's any real need to go hunting unless you absolutely need to.
Yeah. And even then, like, if society collapses that hard and its states collapse that hard, we're all screwed. Like, people talk about you live off the land on your own. Well, where you just need a chainsaw or you just need a gun. Like, where are you going to get those serviced? Where are you going to get the bullets?
Well, that's why you got to learn how to do stuff for yourself.
Yeah. Well,
when it comes to ammunition, you reload ammunition. When it comes to the
chainsaws,
tools, yeah.
Where are you going to get the gas for the chainsaw? What are you going to do? Where are you going to get the medicine you're going to need?
You have generator. Yeah, first of all, you have electric tools. You have generators.
Electric tools will break down.
I mean,
all this stuff will break down. Like if
you still have things. You still have the manual. You still have manual saws and axes and that kind of stuff.
And they'll break too. You got to learn how to make these. Like that's the problem. Like we as humans cannot live on our own. Like a few people can do it here and there, but most of those people still are coming back into society to buy stuff.
Yeah, because it's easier.
Yeah, but they also don't have the skill set to actually take care of it on their own. You don't know how to make a saw on your own. So what happens if your saw breaks? Or you just
I have a saw. I've bought the saw that's already made. I know how to sharpen it.
Yeah, and what happens when your sharpening stone's gone? Like we don't have the skill set to live without a society of people who have individual sets of skills. Like,
but we should. That's my advocacy, that we should have those skill sets.
It's too many skill sets. We've never, as humans have never lived on their own as a collective. Like we've always been in groups.
That's true. Yeah,
because that's how we thrive. We're not solo species. And so some people here and there, outliers, can do it to certain extents, but most people are surviving because society exists. So if we have a total breakdown of society, most of us are screwed. Maybe not that first year, but by that third year, everything's done.
I think you should be able to sustain yourself for at least a week. And if you can do that, if you can do at least a week until services can come back online.
Yeah.
Just like in North Carolina when that hurricane hit, like, you know, some people who were trapped, you know, we have friends, I have friends of the podcast, friends of the in.pencil podcast, over at the Creep Geeks podcast, Omi and Greg, you know, they're out there in Marion, North Carolina. And I mean, you just go follow their podcast if you want the full story. But basically, there are people over there.
Follow their podcast.
Huh?
Also, just go follow their podcast.
Yeah, for fuck's sake. Just, you know.
They also do YouTube videos too, right? Yeah, they do.
From time to time. So Greg has the Cheap Geek. The Cheap Geek. There's more tech, kind of tech, but then also like survivalist type stuff.
Yeah,
RV.
That's the part of it that's more interesting to me. So occasionally when I'm just like, oh, let me watch this. This is interesting because
you've partaken.
Yeah, I'm not friends with them. They're like friends-in-law, I guess.
Friends-in-law.
But yeah, I have watched some of their stuff that pops up on our YouTube, and I'm like, oh, I want to watch this. This is interesting. And also, like, yeah, no, this is like Adam's connections.
Yeah, that's true. But they're great. But they talked about how there are people out there who, when trees are down, there's all this flooding, there's no road access, they'll have to survive on their own, and you should be able to survive for a couple of days on your own. You should be able to have a generator and be able to have a food supply, potable water, canned goods, be able to have a barbecue, a grill, or, just the standard survival stuff for a couple of days at least.
Yeah, the U.S. government has a thing called ready.gov, and go to it if you haven't. And you might be like, oh, why would I trust the U.S. government? Well, it's just people who are preppers who are working for the government. So give them a chance.
They're part of FEMA. FEMA's great.
Yeah.
FEMA's actually great.
Yeah. No matter what other people may have said about FEMA.
As much as I hate the government, FEMA's actually pretty great.
Yeah, they do good stuff. And because these are just mostly, you got to remember, like, most of the people who work for the government in these roles, they are actually really good at their job. This is stuff they would do if they weren't working for the government, but they get paid for it, and so it's awesome that we get them.
Well, and so how FEMA works is that when they go into a community, FEMA doesn't do anything really on their own. Like they bring in the money and the resources to enable the community to rebuild on their own, right? So like it's really the local efforts that are helping to recover and rebuild from a disaster or something like that. But FEMA comes in and they bring resources, they bring money, they bring knowledge, they bring an emergency operations center where you're using to pull together information to sort of allocate resources and sort of, so they're great. And they hire local. So whenever they go in, they're hiring from the local community. They're called local hires to do the work that needs to be done to help enable the community to rebuild. So,
And what they say is, I know they say like have 2 weeks supply of food and water.
Yeah.
So you need 2 weeks supply. And like if you're like, I don't know how to cook, well, just get 2 weeks supply of food that you don't have to cook. Make sure you have a can opener. Get a bunch of cans. Make sure you have a can opener. All that plastic takeout forks and stuff. Collect a bunch of those and use those. Those have like salt, pepper, forks, knives, napkins. They have all the stuff you need. Go get a bucket and some sawdust if you want to potty.
Yeah, well, I mean, dig a hole, right? So,
no,
I mean,
holes can smell.
Or just like, I don't know.
First of all, digging a hole is not an easy skill for anyone. Have you ever dug a hole?
Yeah, I dig holes all the time. It's not a hobby of mine, but on occasion, gotta put up a fence post or something like that.
Yeah, if you live in like the North or the Midwest or the Great Plains in the wintertime and you're like, dig a hole, and the answer is no. That is not something you're going to do if all the grid is shut down.
Or you just go out in the woods with Sasquatch and just take a shit somewhere where you don't want Sasquatch to be, and then
but have
use
2
your
weeks. You need a 2 week supply. A
little personal here, but you go out in the woods, you get some leaves, you take care. I've done it before. It's not that bad. The leaves are a little bit rough, but there's no bidets in the woods, unfortunately.
No. If only. Well, there are, but in the winter they can be very cold.
Yeah.
Or dried up. In summer they're dried up. In the winter they're frozen. Some places. We have a portable toilet we have in our car, and it's
really.
It's just it's like it holds up to like 400 pounds. So most people, it just pops up. It can hold 400 pounds, which is what I wanted. So like anybody.
Oh, you mean the seating capacity?
The seating,
not 400 pounds of excrement.
But what it is, and it comes with bags that are biodegradable, and it comes with some biodegradable stuff that you just put in there that takes care of the smell and also kind of congeals it all. And then you just put the bag on, you sit on it, you pee or poop, whatever you got to do.
Do your thing.
You put the little stuff in there, and then you tie it up, and then it can go straight into the trash or into, not composting, never put that stuff in composting, but it can be buried in the ground, and it says it's all natural, I believe, to a certain extent. It's, better than some of the other stuff we're putting in there. But we have that in our car. It's it's a car potty because we have a kid. But also it's for like going out to the woods if we need it. We have an easy portable toilet. And it smells probably a little, we haven't had to use it yet, but it'll probably smell a little bit. But, smell is not the worst thing you're dealing with when you're out of services for a week or two.
It's good to have a backup plan.
Yeah.
Well, I got the camper. The camper's a backup plan. If everything goes to shit.
That's where you'll take your...
That's where I'll take my shit. Just do it in the camper.
Do it in the camper. That should be you should do a in.pencil survival. You should do your own in.pencil survival channel.
Well, we've talked about, and I've started to plan for in.pencil like DIY and auto stuff, but I haven't really had a chance to get around to do anything with it. But I would like to do that, some sort of DIY stuff where, as I'm learning skills, I'm showing the world or whoever gives a shit to how.
You should call it DIY.
It's kind of clever.
Actually, it is. That was accidentally. I like it. It was kind of.
It's always the random times of our lives that we find the most. That's where the the gems lie and the random nonsense that we talk about.
Yeah. So, I think that we're about to wrap up, or at least I need to wrap up here.
Okay, well, let's wrap up. So, just to summarize this podcast,
monkeys on the lam.
Bigfoot's probably not real. Watch out for the monkeys in South Carolina. Make sure you're ready for survival situations, and only hunt if you really need to. And check out some game stores in Chicago
if you're there, or
the Theosophical Society.
Yeah. And I will add to the only hunt if you need to is like, yes, don't hunt for sport, hunt for food.
Yeah.
Like, and if you don't need the food, but you like to hunt, give it to people who do need the food.
I will qualify that with saying hunting, if you want to hunt, if you want to hunt so you can learn how to hunt, then do that. But make sure that whatever you kill gets used appropriately. It's just like going fishing, right? If you go fishing, I don't fish because I don't like eating fish, so I don't fish. But I
don't fish because I don't like cleaning fish.
Yeah,
and then too many times
I like the scaliness of it and the little hook. I don't like the hook coming out of the fuck. Anyway, all I'm saying is eat what you kill, or give it to somebody who will eat what you kill, and that's it.
There's nothing to me if you are hunting, and even if you're not cleaning, taking care of it, if you're giving someone else to do it, and then you take that and you're like giving it to people who need food and can't really easily get food, that's doing a great service, because that's helping other people out.
Yeah.
Just don't overhunt. Do not overhunt. Do not kill more than you need to kill, because my goodness, we are an ecosystem and we need to work together.
It is cool. There is a sense of pride whenever you get like a big buck, just like someone with like shit ton of antlers. There's a sense of pride in that. Like, yeah, I got that kill. But at the same time, make sure that it goes to
the proper place.
Yeah.
And to our vegan and vegetarian followers, oops, sorry, we probably should have talked about that. We were going to end up talking about this, but
spoiler alert. I'm a carnivore, herbivore. What's it called? What's it called if you eat
omnivore? You're an
omnivore. That's it. That's the one. Okay. All right, that's it. Thanks for listening to the In-Pencil podcast. Watch our YouTube shit and look out for some new stuff coming sometime in the next 5 years. So.
Yeah. Bye.
All right, I've been Adam.
I've been Jeff.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Life is not written in it. We change, we grow, we make mistakes, we learn, and eventually we fade away. Life is written in pencil. Thank you for listening to the In Pencil podcast.